I need some traction. You need some traction.
All right, so we're the lunch entertainment. Are we gonna rap, sing?
Yeah,
what are we gonna do?
Dance.
Dance. Shouldn't sit down if we want to dance. Marco, tell us, just to get started, because you guys are not in Canada, so I don't know how many people know Thumbtack. And anybody here in the audience who's used Thumbtack?
Here we go.
One. All right, 99% of the audience, you can still convert into customers.
Well, that's upside. That's what I see. So Thumbtack helps you hire local professionals like plumbers, caterers, tutors. There's lots of sites that give you names and numbers, right? Google, Yelp, lots of places. But that's actually not what you want. You want to get connected to the professionals who are qualified, available, and interested in doing your job. And that's what we do. So you come in on Thumbtack and define what your project is, what you're trying to get done. We send that out to our network of pros, and those who are available and interested quote directly back to you, and with that, we package reviews, pictures, profile information, everything you need to make a confident hiring decision. We've been at it since 2009. We now facilitate way over $1 billion a year in commerce. We're only live in the United States. We have 230,000 active paying professionals across 1,000 different categories. A fun stat is we now have a paying pro in every county in the United States. So we're incredibly broad, but we've been able to do it without a sales force, which I think is really something that differentiates us from a lot of local plays up and to date.
All right, and you've raised just under 1.3. Your valuation is just around 1.3 billion, and you've raised 270 something million at this point.
Yeah, that's right.
Those are good numbers, but I want to go back to the early days, because I think most people in the audience here are not quite at that point yet.
Sure.
You started Thumbtack right out of college.
Yep.
What's the story there? Why did you start why did you start a marketplace out of all things?
Well, obviously we were naive and we had no idea what we were doing. Otherwise we would have picked something else, because it turned out to be much harder than we were expecting. So I met my co-founders in college. We didn't go to school together, but we started a little nonprofit together. And that ended up not going anywhere, but it's taught us just how fun it is to build something out of nothing and to rally people around a shared vision. And so we decided to do it again, this time sort of getting out of the nonprofit world and building a for-profit technology company. And the reason is you can have a huge impact building a technology company, and that's what really we were after. And at that point, we basically did what you're not supposed to do, which is decide to start the company and then go hunt for the idea. We literally had a phone call every Sunday where we would talk about things that were broken, things that we thought we could fix. And the guiding light was, what is the biggest problem we can fix with technology? And the observation that led to all of this was, why is it so damn hard to hire a plumber?
You were a college student at that point. Why were you looking for plumbers?
So actually, I think we got lucky. You often hear the advice, which is, solve one of your own problems, solve something that matters to you. And I think that can work in some specific cases, but it often leads people astray, because if you're a likely capable founder, you're probably not normal. And so indexing over your own problems and passions, I don't think is always a good direction to go in. And so we instead said, what's broken outside of us? And I think the reason why we gravitated to this problem was typically the universe makes it very easy for you to spend your money to get what you want, right? That's what capitalism is all about. And yet here is a category where you have to work hard to spend money. To us, that said, sort of, there's a potential here. There has to be a better way to part people with their money and get them what they want. And what we saw was that this was an incredibly antiquated sector. There was very little technology, and therefore we saw an opportunity to really remake it from the ground up with sort of a technology-first mindset. And we had no idea how hard it would be. It turned out to be much harder. It still is much harder than expected, but it did turn out to be a good idea.
You keep saying how hard it is to do this. And marketplaces are really hard because you've got demand, supply, you need pros, you need customers. How did you seed that at the beginning? How did you get those first, because pros don't want to get on the platform unless there's customers, and customers don't come unless you've got these pros. How did you start this process?
We started with the supply side. You have to pick a side because you can't get both off the bat. And what you have to do, I believe, is offer the supply side or either side something of value before you have a network. We called it network independent value at the time. I've heard people describe it as come for the tool, stay for the network. Chris Dixon has a good blog post about that. And in our case, what we offered our pros was a way to post onto Craigslist. These people were trying to put ads up there, but they weren't HTML sort of designers, so they couldn't add pictures and inline sort of content. And so we did that for them. They signed up on Thumbtack, created a profile, and we had a pretty seamless way to get their content up onto Craigslist. And they loved that. And that started attracting professionals to us. We would market this tool to them. And then over time, this mass of professionals that were gathering on Thumbtack began attracting customers directly to us. And so now at this point, 95% of our customers come organically to us via word of mouth and search and through our pros. And so that flywheel took us a couple of years to start building, but started with the pros, gave them something that was valuable day one, and through that gave us an opportunity to build relationships with customers.
What other tactics did you use in those early days to get them on the platform?
So marketing to small businesses is a contact sport. If you're not excited about getting rejected a lot or throwing a lot of stuff against the wall and having most of it not work, you should probably pick a different product. And you just have to go to them. These folks are busy, they're skeptical, and you have to test and iterate your way to finding both the channel and message that works. But the truth is it ends up being something very direct. So it's either a phone call, it's an email, it's a hyper-targeted ad. There's no way around it. You have to go to them. They're not going to magically show up.
Give me an example of something that just didn't work. You tried it and it failed.
Our monetization evolved a lot. So we're a marketplace. So the obvious thing is to say, all right, you should charge a commission, right? Just take a percent fee of the transactions that you're facilitating. And so that's what we tried. The challenge with that was not obvious to us until we put it into place. And that is, in our case, customers are coming and they first get a set of options from professionals. If there is no marginal cost for the professionals to respond to customers, turns out they respond to all of them. They're totally indiscriminate. They just spray and pray because why not? I'm only going to pay if I win. I might as well respond to all the customers you send my way. That had the problem of really hurting the customer experience because the pros weren't qualifying their message. And so we evolved that to be a per introduction fee. And so customers come in, they request something, we send that to our pros, they can review it for free, but then they have to pay to respond. And it took us a couple years to sort of really crack that and make it work, but what happened was it made the customer experience better because pros were qualifying themselves, and it turned out to be the first true self-serve sort of marketing product that SMBs adopted at scale. And the reason is because it's something that they can understand. And they're not buying clicks, they're not buying impressions, they're paying to respond to specific customers that they can see everything that we know about them. That's something that is just easy to get, and that's what has helped us scale tremendously to where we are today.
Do I pay for an introduction that doesn't result in a sale as well?
You do, yeah. So professionals pay per response. If they don't win, they still pay. But if they do win, there's no additional fee either. Right. And these folks think of it as they should in terms of dollars in and dollars out, ROI. And what they've found with us is that we have probably the best ROI out of any of their marketing spend because it's so performance-based. They're only paying for what they want.
So who are the people on the platform? Who are the pros that actually come to you?
Yeah, so these 230,000 active paying professionals, these are sort of small businesses. About 60% of them are solo entrepreneurs, so it's just themselves. Another 30% of them have 2 to 5 employees, and then the last 10% has more than 10 employees. So we represent probably about 1 million employees in the United States, which is almost 1% of the workforce in the United States. And these are folks who really sell their time. All right, when you think of a service professional, what they are offering is their time and the knowledge and hard work and experience that comes with it. And they did not get into business for themselves because they like dealing with online marketing or managing their books. They got into business because they have a talent and they love serving customers and providing that talent. And so what we've been able to do is let them do what they do best, and we try and take care of the rest. So first and foremost, that's online marketing and getting them more customers. That's their primary need and concern. But over time, we're also going to be delivering a suite of back office tools for them. So we're starting to help them with scheduling. Later this year, you'll see us start helping them with collecting payments and doing invoicing. And ultimately, we want to be a turnkey solution where if you have time and you have a talent, that's all you need to be a successful service professional. We can do the rest for you.
So you really started with Craigslist, and now I can run my whole business on your platform at the end. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean, for a professional, you should be able to basically live the American dream just by signing up on Thumbtack.
The American dream, not the Canadian dream.
Well, one day the Canadian dream too. I don't know if you guys have a different one.
Well, you're not quite global yet. You're only in.
We're only in the U.S., which is almost a contrarian thing to do at this point. The way we think about it is that the market in the U.S. is $700 billion a year. That's how much customers spend every single year on local services. And we capture less than 1% of that. And so we have so much headroom to grow in the US that it feels like it'd be a bit of a distraction to go global, especially considering that local services are primarily driven by the cost of labor. And so if you look to India and China, gigantic markets from a sort of number of transaction basis, but in terms of the dollar value of those transactions, it's actually still pretty low. And so the US probably represents a third to maybe 40% of all dollars spent on local services in the entire world. And so it's a very, very big and rich market for us to go into, and we still haven't even really cracked it. So we've got a long way.
How much of that market have you cracked?
So we do more than $1 billion a year, significantly more at this point than $1 billion a year in transactions.
Few more percent left to go.
There's a lot, yeah, there's plenty. We're not going to run out of market share.
Well, we've talked about the pros. Let's talk about the customers too that come to you.
Yep.
How do you acquire those customers? Early on, you said it was word of mouth.
Yeah, so early on, it was really driven from our pros. So they would tell people, they would be posting on Craigslist, which would drive people to us. And then sort of organic search started driving us a lot of traffic because we had such great, unique content. Now at this point, it's word of mouth. So people hearing about it from their friends, that's by far our fastest growing channel. And then organic search is still big for us as well. We only pay for about 5% of our consumer traffic. And the reason why we're not investing more is because we're actually still supply constrained. We can't serve every customer that comes through the door as well as we would like because we don't have a big enough supply base yet. The challenge we have is that we cover 1,000 different categories in every location in the United States. And so it's an incredibly hard sort of liquidity building challenge, right? Supply acquisition challenge to have all those folks in place at the right time for the right service. So we keep investing in that, and you'll see us over the coming months and years really invest in building the brand through sort of PR, TV, typical brand building channels. Our awareness is still on the lower end, but the business is very big and very healthy, and we're excited about that because it means that we have a ton of opportunity. This is a service that I'm sure all of you can use if you're U.S. residents or live in the U.S. But as sort of individuals, right? Busy professionals, busy moms, busy parents, these are the folks that we serve, and they all need something that we can help them with.
How do you handle that, though, if you're still constrained there? Because I can probably get a plumber in every county in the U.S., but what if I need a singing coach in somewhere in a county in South Dakota?
I mean, that's our biggest challenge. That's what, the bulk of what we invest in from a product and technology standpoint is going to solve. We believe we already have the most liquid marketplace out there for this type of work, but it's still not big enough given the amount of demand that's coming organically. So it's just a big challenge to invest in onboarding, training, engagement, matchmaking, sort of empowerment of these pros. There's really no one solution.
You talked about organic search being one of those drivers of your inbound. You had some issues with Google last year, though, right? You got some punishment for something. Can you talk about that a little bit? What happened there?
So there was a blog post published about us by some SEO.
It was not on TechCrunch.
It was not on TechCrunch. By some SEO nerd no, it's fine. There's a lot of,
It was search engine land.
No. It was somebody else. Search engine land just covered it.
All right.
And they alleged that we were paying for links. It's a huge no-no. And the reason why he alleged this is because we have a point system on Thumbtack, which is our gamification engine, which gives you points, which are not a currency. But we also have a credit system, which is a currency, which is how you pay to respond to customers. And this blog post conflated these two things, which is understandable, though very unfortunate, because Google turned off our traffic for a week while they audited us. It was a very shitty week, obviously. But, the flip side, and now the silver lining, is that we got this, super intense physical, but we came out the other end with a clean bill of health. All our traffic came back. So in some ways, it was a positive and healthy thing. But it's a reminder that you never want to concentrate your acquisition efforts in any one channel. There's always risk to that. And the only durable, truly defensible channel is the direct one. People coming to you because they love the brand, they love the product. And thankfully, that's our biggest and fastest growing one.
A lot of people have been hurt by Google over the years, and when things changed.
Yeah, they have an impossible job. I feel for what they try to do, and I think they have the right intentions, but they certainly do not bat 1,000.
So now you've got all these people on your platform. How do you keep them there? How do you keep them from just going to Angie's List or Handy or whatever they need for their specialty?
Yeah, so professionals are not monogamous. These are folks who just want to make more money. And they're going to go to whoever can get them that next great client. So we view our only retention strategy as being the best source of customer acquisition for them. And if we can do that, they love us and they will stay forever. And we show, one of the most impressive charts we have in our investor deck is just our retention charts of these professionals. They just never leave. Once they find that Thumbtack is basically an ATM, and they can just keep pulling money out of it, they never leave because that's all they want. But our challenge is to continue to grow demand to serve all the professionals we have in all the various categories such that they don't feel the need to date elsewhere.
All right, so you never want to marry a professional, apparently.
Yeah, they're good people, but they're just hungry for new business.
Let's talk about your role as a CEO as well, because you came into this with really little experience. What, did you have a mentor?
That's generous.
Well, you knew how to party in college, probably.
Yeah, I graduated from college.
Yeah, exactly. That's which is really more than a lot of other people. Did you have a mentor? Did somebody teach you?
So Silicon Valley is an awesome place because people are incredibly generous. And so we've been lucky to have a lot of different mentors over the years who've helped us out in countless different ways. But I think the biggest source of learning has probably just been from my own team. And going into business with people I knew and I trusted, bringing on even more great people and building the type of culture where we can be vulnerable, right? Where we can fail and help each other sort of get better and get feedback has probably been the most important thing to being able to grow. And I'm constantly feeling like I'm not keeping up, and I think that's healthy and motivating. And I have a group of people around me who want to see me succeed and help me do so.
All right. We're out of time, so last question. You've got the $1.2-something billion valuation. You've got investors like Sequoia, Google Capital. Do they want you to IPO, sell at this point? How much pressure are you getting for them to get some money back out of those investments?
I mean, look, these guys are in the money-making business. Like, that's all they want. But they're also, we are fortunate to have great investors, and they are very long-term oriented. The best investors understand that the best returns come from companies that can compound their growth consistently over time. And we've shown that. We've shown an ability to just execute and keep growing. And so they don't have any time horizon. You know, we raised our first bit of venture money only 3 or 4 years ago. So we're still sort of on the new end of their portfolio. So we have a long runway still ahead of us, and lucky to have great investors.
All right, awesome. We'll talk about that next year when you get bought by Google.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I need some traction. You need some traction.